Welcome back to Jimmy and the Pulsating Mass. This is Grandma Party.
And you've got ModeWondershot here, hopefully to provide a bit of insight into the game's mechanics or story as so warranted, or maybe Grandma Party and I will just talk about whatever. What do you think, Grandma?
Ooh, SpaghettiOs. SpaghettiOs.
Excellent.
Meatballs or no meatballs?
I'd have to go with meatballs on that one.
Gross. You're just like Catherine. The correct answer is hot dogs. I don't care what they're made of.
Yeah, that's gonna be a pass for me, I'm afraid.
Okay, so the reason we're spending so long on the equipment screen is I've spent some time grinding. Because if we do this right, we can start breaking the game. Because I ground skee-ball until I can afford the crayons. And the crayons are plus 100 magic attack, and if you get your pumpkin to level 25, you can redouble your magic attack, basically.
Excellent.
So now we're going to hit like a train.
Well, I will say this. There's definitely something cathartic about a grinding experience through a classic RPG like this.
You know, it's nice. I can just hang out and grind and no one bothers me. And you can grind to your heart's content and no one limits you by getting rid of all the enemies, so you have to go downstairs and get through a bunch of doors.
Yeah, plus as we've seen, this game actually has a pretty decent way of enabling grinding, but also skipping past areas that you would otherwise be forced to fight your way through, right?
Right, and the world's just starting to open up because we're at the, Final Fantasy games, you can go anywhere around level 40 with an airship. We don't have that, but there's still a ton of side content. And that's what we're doing today.
Excellent. But on that note, have you seen any of Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise?
Oh yeah, man. I can't even begin to parse that. You gotta be really good at it.
Well, I've started playing it a bit myself. It's really fun, even if you're not at all good with it, because one of the things they did to kind of get people into the flow of it is they've changed all the NPC dialogue so that they provide hints about the game in a very entertaining, fourth wall breaking fashion.
Oh, I'm so in for this. I've seen races of Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise. These are the chests Mom would not let us get. If we don't get them now, we can't get them in a long time.
Well, I can sort of see why, given the presence of dark waves in the back there.
I mean, lots of dark wave pools exist. Have you ever been to a water park in the summer?
Yes, but that must have been a decade and a half ago.
Oh, that's my greatest fear nowadays. My 3 aunts and going to a water park.
I suppose the cohorts on that would certainly influence it. Also, that is a very long hallway with a lot of treasure chests that are being left ignored.
Oh yeah, there's a reason for that. This is the Hall of Greed. Right, it wants you to open all the treasure chests. The problem is, the vast majority of them are monsters or they give debuffs.
Exceptional.
So, essentially, it wants you to open everything, and as you open everything, it gets much, much harder. Because some of the chests will make the monsters stronger, some will just be monsters, some will say, oh, you can't use your abilities anymore. And, of course, this is called the Hall of Greed.
This now makes it 2 games that I seem to be cursed to just watch mimic battles for quite a while.
There's only 2 in here.
Oh, fair enough.
So you're good. It's an interesting dungeon design in that most things here aren't really what they seem to be.
Is there any kind of tell? Because I'm seeing, among other things, that there's some differing expressions on the columns in the background.
Nope, this one's just trial and error, so I've run this thing like 5 or 6 times.
Oh.
And by saying that, I'm completely discounting the nice clown image on the wiki that totally told me how to do this.
Huh. Oh, so there is a pattern.
Not really. I just looked up what the clown told me to do on the on the wiki, and I did it.
I suppose it will be what it is.
I did run it for real, blind a couple times, and I could not remember the spacing of it, so... But your time is precious to me, and I will not waste it.
Oh, don't worry about me. We certainly have more than enough time to talk about this or any other game that strikes your fancy.
Oh, man. Anyway, how far did you get in Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise?
I've completed a few runs now. I want to say that my average times are in still about the 2 to 2.5 hour range, accounting for resets.
And don't you need a specific item to trigger Zeromus' transformation that's randomized?
Yes, you need to track down the crystal, but fortunately, depending on your flag set, that can actually be pretty easy to find.
I'd be wandering around somewhere in Teroya in the water looking for treasure for hours, honestly.
Well, there's certainly important things to remember about searching the water for treasure, especially in the early game, because really, equipment's what makes all the difference.
Yeah! Eat gold, get gold!
Oh dear.
He's so beefy. And why is it moving?
Clearly some kind of venomous creature is hiding in there.
I'm gonna accuse you of seeing this before. There's a snake in my gold.
I want to say, have you ever played ActRaiser 2?
Oh yeah.
Well, I can't claim to have, but I do watch PJ Cesar play it, and he's... The idea of the embodiment of greed just being a dragon with the gold horde in the background is a very striking image.
This one's much worse.
I can definitely see that now.
Because they went full-on body horror with it. On the plus side, I got to do my favorite thing, which is steal. And lots of it.
I do appreciate the details like the sword in the back there and the hand crawling out of the pit of gold.
Ugh. This is not good looking. So here's the way it kind of works, is the more gold piles he has, the higher his defense is. But the more you steal from him, the more that miasma effect kicks into play.
Ah.
Your own greed, it weakens you. But I grind like hell, so I don't care. And because I need money.
Don't all RPG protagonists.
I mean, don't all of we in real life too. I'll fight the blob, I don't care. I mean, I'd give this thing a kiss if you had enough money. And enough penicillin.
The economy makes terrible people of us all, I suppose.
No, just me. Just me. Because I will do anything if you have enough money, except break the beautiful vows of my marriage. So there.
Incidentally, I will say that there are quite a few attempts to grasp Tanaka. I suppose the game's actually trying to actively neutralize your attack there.
I mean, it's going to actively grasp somebody, but yeah, they are trying to take somebody out of the party. The fun thing is that Jimmy's actually hitting pretty light right now, because when I did this fight the first time, he was hitting for 2,000 every shot. So this is how we're going to roll for a little while. We found this game's LP toss.
I keep having to be reminded of the other LP I'm in.
You're never going to forget it. If I can't forget it, you can't forget it.
As I told Diacorn back when, can't we just go back to defusing bombs, or I can comment on a story about a guy driving a car?
Oh wait, have you started the bomb defusal LP?
It's pretty old, but I want to say it was 2016 I did a fairly lengthy one.
Oh, I need to go take a look at this. I didn't know about this.
Ah, well, as I said, it was a while ago, so I might revisit it now that there are significantly more mods out than when I first finished it, so.
Oh, I'm absolutely in for this. Do you get points for being a traitor?
There's a mode of play I was looking at with just that, but we'll see.
Oh, man. Do you ever play board games with your friends in real life?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. See, I can't. Also, we're rich as hell now.
Nice.
But I can't play board games with my friends in real life because I'm kind of a spoiler.
That's a shame.
Oh no, it's very fun for me until everybody turns on me.
Might I suggest something like Codenames?
What's Codenames?
Codenames is a word association game where your objective is to look at a grid of words laid out in front of you randomly and use a key map to draw associations between them that you need to essentially tell the other people in your group what words you're trying to get them to link together.
Huh.
It's a little bit complex on the first play, but after you play it once, it makes a lot of sense and is extremely fun to go through because it has almost infinite longevity and is really just based on your own ability to express ideas in a way that's interpreted correctly by people you play with.
The one I want to play is Sheriff of Nottingham. Have you heard of Sheriff of Nottingham?
Yes, I have.
Oh, it's all lies and police corruption, and it's so good.
It's fantastic. You get to be quite a smuggler in that game.
Basically, what you're trying to do is you're trying to smuggle goods across the border, and one player is the sheriff, and he can choose whether or not to look in your bag. And if you have crime stuff in your bag, you pay them, and if they don't, they pay you a small pittance for your, for taking up some of your time.
Right. Basically, to wash away a false accusation.
Right. And the thing is, whatever you put in your bag each turn is blind. So you could have 2 cheese in your bag, and you say 2 cheese, and he looks at it, and then he has to pay you.
Right.
But you can also say 2 cheese and hide a crossbow in there. The key is, are you lying? Does everyone else think you're lying? And how much they think you're lying? Or did they bribe the sheriff to look in your bag?
Precisely, because there's absolutely not enough profit in just being an honest merchant all the time. Eventually, you're gonna have to try and sneak that crossbow.
Yes, absolutely. You know how this works. This is how capitalism works.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of capitalism, welcome to Accelerated Dynamics. We needed $100,000 to even get through the door.
Do you by any chance know if Casey's a fan of Front Mission?
I'll ask him. Why do you ask?
Accelerated Dynamics logo looks like an inverted version of the Diablo avionics from Front Mission.
I'll definitely pop in and ask him. He's an interesting guy. He's way better than Andrew Allenson.
Not the most difficult bar to clear, but no, I absolutely have faith in that.
I hate to tell you this, but I have talked to Andrew a couple times, and other than a huge rampaging sense of narcissism, he's got great taste in music.
That's fair. I mean, again, there are parts of the Yick soundtrack that at times seem like there's some good inspiration there.
Ugh, it's Rich Caddy Schoolgirl's dad. I hate him. Oh, check out the Hang In There Kitty in the background.
Nice.
Love it.
Also, he gets a nice thought-terminating cliche there in response to being shaken. At least it means he's somewhat unflappable.
I respect that. Also, they go meta with the shaking in this one, which is pretty fun because everyone's used to it by now. I mean, Casey knew you were going to shake pretty much everything. You have to.
Admittedly, Casey knew you were going to shake pretty much everything in specific, but...
Wow, rude. I had this nice lunch here, and you just came and ate it. Don't look at me and tell me you wouldn't shake everything.
The shaking is indeed a tremendously appealing part of this.
Thank you. Oh, look at this bad dad. Wow. Listen, next time you hold a baby, don't be like this dad.
That's fair. I will endeavor to improve my dadly qualities before I attempt to hold a baby again.
Whew.
Maybe take some medication so as to not tremble terribly.
Woof. I'm fanning myself. It's getting hot in here. Don't judge my dad lust, okay? I'm sure you have things you're passionate about.
Oh, I do. I keep them hidden for a reason.
No, let me in that vest. What's in the vest?
All right. There's certainly something very exciting about bomb disposal, as I've told you before.
Oh, no. Oh, it's balloons. You're one of the people who likes balloons.
You know, you're a remarkably insightful man, Grandma.
We are gonna just bury this episode in the hearts of the internet. Because the fun of a bomb is when no one knows when it goes off.
I wonder if there is a timerless mode to contend with. And I'm gonna have to check the Steam Workshop again before I call it an evening. And here I was expecting the most exciting thing to happen today was going to be me getting Metal Wolf Chaos XD for the first time.
Oh, I can't wait. I've been waiting for that for years.
13 years?
13 years. I watched all the videos of it. I've seen the Let's Plays of it, but I want to play it for myself.
Well, today's the day, Grandma Party.
I have things to do.
Ah.
Adulthood.
I understand.
Like, I've been waiting 13 years to be the president in a mech suit screaming, "Let's party," while I surf on a big sheet of sheet metal coming through the atmosphere.
Down through space. It's a dream to be lived.
I can't wait. Too bad our current president sucks. Nowhere near that fun.
Yeah. I can only watch from a distance and hope the same doesn't happen up here.
Are you Canadian as well?
Yep. Seem to be getting a variety show of Canadians on here.
Listen, I like Canada a whole lot.
It is pretty great.
If only it were warm.
Well, give it 10 years.
I was going to say, thanks to global warming, it will be.
No.
Oh, I made myself sad.
It's okay. We can reminisce about other things like, I don't know. What this made me think of at one point, actually. Do you, by any chance, have you ever heard of a show from 1992 called The Odyssey?
No, tell me about The Odyssey.
Okay. It's a Canadian show that was sort of marketed to kids and young adults. It's about this kid who goes up a tree fort to confront some bullies, falls from the fort, and hits his head and lapses into a coma, whereby he then goes into this elaborate coma fantasy in which he's fighting his way through a basically child version of Mad Max, in which he's trying to locate his dad, who left his family mysteriously when he was very young.
Wow, hang on, put a pin in that. I do want to come back to that. These yes men are actually really dangerous because whatever someone does, they agree and they hit you, whoever they target.
Ah.
So wait, it's like a Mad Max coma fantasy?
Yes, with mostly, I want to say, 12 to 16-year-olds.
That sounds awesome.
It was pretty great to watch for the 3 years it was around when I was a kid.
God, now I'm trying to remember that other surreal show with Chris Elliott where he was in a neighborhood that weird things like that happened. This is
yeah. Fun fact about that, Ryan Reynolds was also in that TV show.
What?
Yeah, he was barely a teenager at the time, so yeah, he was one of the characters.
Can you recall the name?
Oh man, I actually looked it up this week, which is why I remembered, but
it's like Get
Macro.
Dead or something.
I think it was Macro was his character's name, because he was like the computer nerd who was running things for the child fascist government.
Wow. That's rad, actually. I need to go check that out. Hell yeah.
Apparently it's all gone on YouTube recently.
YouTube is the best for watching these old shows. I've watched The Critic on YouTube like at least 5 times.
Nice. Per the Ick thread, I also have been enjoying the Red Green Show again for the first time in about a decade.
I need to check that out. What's it about?
The Red Green Show is like a parody of a variety show in which it follows an old guy played by Steve Smith who runs a hunting and fishing lodge, in which everybody is this very sort of stereotypical old retired pseudo outdoorsman guy who just kind of get into trouble for no real reason other than the fact that they're bored and want to try maybe getting rich or just staving off boredom.
Nice. Real quick, I gotta redirect this. I like this dungeon a lot because it's definitely an 8-year-old's fear of work and what life will be like as an adult.
Yeah, there's definitely a kind of...
Except for that part.
Yeah, that part's... Yeah, the kind of ever-present, inescapable fear of death and illness seems to be something that occupies a fair amount of Jimmy's headspace, regardless of circumstance.
But all the empty cubicles and the lack of sound and just the sameness of it all, it kind of strikes a chord with me.
It's a really good soundtrack for that, actually, because, yeah, you're just seeing...
It's just
hearing, for the most part, just background noise.
Yeah, it's a quiet, staticky office. So it's definitely like the work nightmare, which as someone who works in an office, it really hits a little too close to home.
There is definitely an accuracy to it, though fortunately I'm one of the lucky ones to have an office I actually kind of like.
Oh, nice. Real quick, stepping back into sitcoms, I've been watching a lot of Canadian sitcoms lately because they're so inoffensive.
Oh yeah. Red Green Show is definitely kind of like that, even if it does sort of rely on, I want to say, sexist stereotypes kind of directed at men. It is, it's pretty wholesome, though. I'd definitely recommend it.
I'll take a look at this. This is an interesting conclusion to the Mr. Grouse arc, because he's been growing and getting more and more distant and just getting greedier.
He's being consumed by a kind of, well, emptiness that sometimes strikes people when they're in this kind of environment.
Maybe he should have been at the end of the halls of greed. See, I made a theme for you.
Nice.
Yeah. What do you think about this dungeon?
I do like it quite a bit. It's, as you said, it really actually hits on this theme very accurately, but in a very condensed amount of time compared to, as we saw, the visual novels from earlier.
Oh, yeah. This fight is actually pretty interesting because what you have to the left is Mr. Grouse's attack counter. So it's going to generate interest every turn. The more interest it generates, the more his attack will hurt you. So if you smack the PC, though, interest counter goes down. And if you want to break the game, you just put poison on it and you go, well, this is fine.
Very nice.
Then you accuse him of being an old man and wrestle him to the ground and give him a spanking. Don't judge me what I do in my private playing of Jimmy.
I'm not judging. I wouldn't dream of it.
You can judge a little bit. I've had bosses like this.
Again, I keep it to myself.
I can feel the warm shawl of your judgment keeping my shoulders warm. Thank you.
You're welcome, I suppose.
Knowing you think less of me helps me sleep at night.
I think we all do what we can, right?
Listen, somebody's got to be the villain.
Well, might as well be me. I'm easily disaffected, so I suppose that will have to do.
You might be the actual villain. I want to be the cartoonish villain who's doing things like filling mailboxes with things.
Well, the counterpoint to that as well is that I am a civil servant, so I suppose I am pretty easy to villainize in that regard.
Which is funny because I work in the civil government as well.
Nice.
I mean, I'm as part of it, but I'm not in it.
Well, just remember what Noah had to say on the subject.
What's
the
that?
government knows when you masturbate. The government knows when you masturbate. The government knows when you're feeling alone and you're sitting at home and it's getting late.
Well, I found my epitaph finally.
Happy to be of service. Also, I screwed the lyric up, but whatever.
Listen, nobody expects us to be able to rap. So I respect you and your efforts.
I respect you being very straightforward about what you might be thinking about as you play Jimmy in the Pulsating Mask.
I mean, there is a show right now I'm watching on Netflix called Kim's Convenience. And the things I've said I would do to Mr. Kim make my wife blush, even though they're all fake.
Mr. Kim is pretty great, isn't he?
Oh, I love Mr. Kim. He's the best.
In terms of current TV watching, I'm not doing too much of it, considering the glut of video games out these days, but I am going through the 2010 series Three Kingdoms that was released in China. You seen that one?
Uh-uh.
Are you familiar with the novel Romance of the Three Kingdoms?
I am. It's a classic. I've never read it because it's huge, but I know they keep remaking it.
It's the sort of book where I feel like I would need a solid week off work and someone basically cooking for me in order to make sure I don't die in order to actually read that entire book.
Like that and Monkey King are China's two big stories, right?
Journey to the West is
That's it.
It's a bit more than the Monkey King, but the Monkey King is definitely the most interesting part of the story.
That's what I was thinking. It's Journey to the West. I couldn't think of it offhand, but I know those are the two big novels.
There are 4 of them in total. The other 2 are Water Margin and Dream of the Red Chamber, if I recall.
I've never heard of those. It sounds interesting. I have to look this up.
Dream of the Red Chamber is apparently one of the not as long ones, but it's also the one that's inspired entire branches of Chinese, what's the term I'm looking for? Scholarship. Yeah.
Gotcha. This Mr. Grouse monologue really just hits close to home for me. Like, it's
just that feeling of adulthood as being death by 1,000 cuts.
A little bit of that, and it's almost, a little too real, because it's a very deep level of honesty. And
it's the sort of thing that, again, you're not really knowingly trying to sell out or advantage yourself with the misery of others. It's just the sort of thing that happens as a result of the circumstances you find yourself in.
Right, and money just represents opportunity to turn your facts and to turn your thoughts into action. But then as you keep going, you tend to forget things about why you started it. Fuck you, Mr. Grouse. Why you gotta make me sad?
We understand all too well.
I mean, he's got a nice outfit, and he's actively hooting, which I approve of.
Enjoy it while you can.
Casey dug deep on this one, and he kind of struck home. Big mood.
I will say, if you're interested in a slightly more lighthearted examination of this very peculiar look at the world of business and finance, have you ever played Caro Blaster?
Uh-uh.
It's Pixel, the Cave Story guy's second game. He made it after basically quitting an office job, and the entire context of the game kind of suggests why he quit.
Huh. I loved Cave Story, so I'll definitely check it. It's Caro Blaster.
Caro Blaster. If you think of Cave Story as being Metroidvania, Caro Blaster is more of a Mega Man game.
Gotcha. I decided I'm going to start showing off furniture sets at the end of episodes now, because, God, we have a lot of furniture.
Yes, I've noticed. I'm definitely a bit more curious to see how exactly that plays into it.
ModeWondershot, thank you so much for joining me. It's been a delight.
It's been a delight for me, too.
Good night.